Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is April, and for today's tea talk, we are talking about anxiety and depression and dealing with them both at the same time, because you have to deal with both of them in very different ways, but sometimes you have both anxiety and depression at the same time. So I'm still getting adjusted to my new microphone. I know that it's a little bit grainy and sometimes you can hear me move, so I'm really sorry. If anybody has any tips on how to stop that noise background thing, just let me know in the comments, because that would be super, super helpful. And the first thing that I want to do is show you guys the tea that I'm drinking today. I am drinking from Bigelow Benefits, the chocolate and almond herbal tea. So this is called a Good Mood tea, and the reason why I wanted to drink this today is because I think this is a really good tea to have if you're dealing with both depression and anxiety. I find it extremely difficult to find things that help with both depression and anxiety simultaneously. Depression on its own can be strictly despair and emptiness and leave you with no energy or motivation or interest or will to do literally anything. But anxiety, on the other hand, can leave your heart rate so high that you can't sleep or eat right or focus on the things that you want, so you want to calm down. So depression, you want to lift your energy up, but anxiety, you want to bring your energy down. And when you deal with both at the same time, it's hard to find the right balance. And sometimes depression comes from anxiety or anxiety comes from depression, so you kind of have to figure out what your baseline is at, and that's why it's really important to go to a doctor if you aren't already doing that. But there's still two entirely different problems. So the point in me drinking this tea today is because I'm going to read you the ingredients in the back. Chamomile, very good for anxiety. Low fat alkalized cocoa powder, good for depression and good to alkalize your pH. Chicory root, that's a very good replacement for caffeine. So instead of riling yourself up with caffeine if you have anxiety, chicory root is a really good replacement. It'll still energize you without making you anxious, so it's not going to give you the jitters. So it's really good for depression to give you that energy, but anxiety to give you the energy without making you more anxious. Lemon balm, very good for anxiety. Wild orange leaves, very good for depression. Passion flower, good for depression. Licorice root, really good for breathing, opening up, good for depression. It's going to give you that energy that you need. However, if you have problems with your blood pressure, try to avoid this, because licorice root can actually raise your blood pressure. You want to be very careful with how much you drink. It has natural chocolate and bitter almond flavors with other natural flavors like lavender, St. John's wort, excellent for depression, orange blossoms, and rose blossoms. I love rose everything, but you can't taste that. All you pretty much taste is the chocolate and almond. So that was a big rant about the tea that I'm drinking today. So what happens when you have both anxiety and depression? When you need something to get you out of bed without jolting your heart rate through the roof? These are some of the things that I find work best for me, but I'm not a doctor, so just do what you want with this information. So my first thing is, this is very obvious, and I'm very sorry for such an obvious statement. And I know sometimes that this can really be out of people's control. I'm not going to tell you to make sure that you get enough sleep, because for some of us, our inconsistent sleep patterns are a result of our moods. But unless you know that that's something that's in your control, like you're purposely staying up late, or you're doing something that causes all of these distractions before bed, then get that under control. But I know that a lot of times sleep is not within our immediate control. But if you can control certain things, getting a normal sleep schedule is going to be the best thing for your energy levels. My second thing is to get at least 20 minutes of exercise, but outside. It's very tempting to do it in your room, just sit there, do push-ups, sit-ups, whatever, which is great too. And if you need to start there, you need to start there. But going outside is going to completely change the way that your brain works. In order to convince yourself to do it, my spiritual father always says, if you can move a muscle, you can change a thought. And that's one of the things that always sticks with me whenever I feel like I can't get out of bed. I'm like, okay, I'll move a muscle, and then my thoughts will start to change, and then that's how it works, and it kind of gets the ball rolling. Number 3 is try changing your diet. I know that this may all seem very obvious to you, but seriously take that advice and actually do something with it. You may know to do that, but you may not actually be doing it. And while you may not be able to overhaul your whole diet at once, just try to start changing with small things. And also, I'd really recommend supplementing. I think that that's a really big deal, because a lot of us are missing so many things in our diet. So my biggest recommendations are flaxseed oil after breakfast, because that's going to give you the energy to sustain yourself throughout the day. But you need to eat with it, because it's a fat-soluble vitamin, so you will get really nauseous if you don't eat with it. Also vitamin D, but only after you have your blood work checked. Vitamin D can be very toxic if you have too much of it, and that can actually counteract everything and be a big problem. So just double check to see if you're deficient. A lot of the times this time of year, people are very deficient. I know that I am, so supplementing with vitamin D is a big help with my energy and with stabilizing my moods and my thought patterns. Taking magnesium before bed can be really helpful. It helps relax you, and it just puts you in a deeper sleep and a more sustained sleep, so you're not waking up all the time. If you're somebody like me and you have really bad sleep problems, it can help you just prolong your sleep a little bit longer, and then you wake up feeling very energized and refreshed. Monkey, stop doing that. Hey, don't do that. This cat is so bad. Also, a temporary max strength 5-HTP has been like a life changer for me. I use I think it's called like Nutra something. It's in a purple bottle. I get it from Stop and Shop, and it's a dissolvable. I keep it under my tongue. It dissolves. You can chew it too, but I like to dissolve it under my tongue because like your body actually like takes more to nutrients if you keep it under your tongue. I find that that's really helpful before bed, and it really does put me in not just a calm mood, but it actually helps me think more positive thoughts, because what 5-HTP does is it helps your body produce serotonin, which a lot of the times when you're depressed, you're missing serotonin. My fourth tip was to try any tea with chicory root. So chicory root, like I had explained with the Bigelow tea that I'm drinking right now, it's not caffeinated, so it's not going to enhance your anxiety, but it will give you enough energy to get you going for the day. And if you really do insist on having that caffeine kick, I would go for something like a lavender green tea or a jasmine white tea, something a little bit more subtle. I would stay away from the black teas, and I would have something just like floral and a little bit more earthy in there. That way you can kind of just breathe and feel relaxed while you're getting that energy at the same time. I think it is Tazo, if I'm correct, that has a really good tea called Zen, and it's like lemongrass and green tea, so it's gonna give you a little bit of a boost of energy while keeping you calm, so that's another good one. You want something calming, but just with like a little bit of a kick. My fifth tip is to create a habits list. So this is my biggest thing. I have a really bad problem sticking with like goals. Like if I'm like, okay, I want to achieve this goal, even like breaking it down into steps, like for some reason I struggle with that, but I do really, really, really well with habits. I always stick to my habits every year. For some reason, I don't break them. It's like magical. I don't know how it happens, but I keep track of it on this app that I have. It's literally called Habits. I'll link it in the description bar below. Hopefully I remember to do that. I even put little things on there, making sure I'm eating something healthy. You know, if you need to make sure that you get dressed every day. For me, making sure I get dressed and doing my hair and makeup keeps me out of bed, because otherwise then I'm just going to want to crawl back into bed and just sleep and, you know, hide for the day. Making your bed on there, doing laundry, like whatever it is, just stick with those habits. I think I had like 7 habits for the month of January. I added on an 8th habit for the month of February, and I'm just going to slowly add things on there to just keep myself in check, and I find it to be very, very helpful to address all different areas of my life. Number 6 is watch comedy. So my go-to, you guys know this by now, is The Office. It's comforting and it just gives me a good laugh every time I watch. I usually try to avoid any sort of horror or crime shows. I actually am planning on making a whole other video about why I avoid those things. But that's typically what I avoid, so I would kind of recommend you avoiding it too, unless it's something that really just piques your interest. But comedy is a big thing for me. I love comedy shows. It just gives me a big sense of comfort. My 7th tip is to actually also watch something that's very moving. I personally love 2 movies. I love Inside Out. That's my favorite movie. I'm really not much of a movie person, but Inside Out is just, it really gets me going. And also this movie called The Shack. I struggle a bit with like crying on a daily basis. Like for some reason I like keep all of that inside, but these movies make me bawl my eyes out. And by the time I'm done with the movie, it relieves so much stress from my body that I actually get a really good night of rest. So it's really just moving, and it's kind of almost good to like put yourself in a state of catharsis sometimes if you're somebody who suppresses your emotions. So I highly recommend that too. And number 8 is turn to someone. And I know that this can be really hard for some people because a lot of us feel like we don't have anybody. I personally, I mean, of course I'm married, so that's a benefit, but I turn to my priest for literally everything. You can turn to your family or friend, but someone that you genuinely believe cares about you and has your best interest at heart. Number 9, change your environment and stimulate your senses. Stimulate your senses is not like the 5 Gum commercial motto or whatever. Anyway, seriously though, if you change your environment, like we're moving soon, I'm so excited about it because I can't wait to just have a new bedroom and like stepping out. That's why it's also very important to get that exercise that's outdoors, because when you change what you're looking at, you change what you smell, you change what you taste, you change what you're hearing, you change what you're touching. All of those things just trigger different parts of your brain to get activated and it changes your thoughts. So like if you're really stuck in something or you feel like really depressed or really super anxious, just change your environment and it's going to help big time. And my 10th tip, this is really super important. Keep track of all of your triggers and the things that energize you and then adjust your life accordingly. So I've learned very recently who kind of triggers what in me, who's really energizing me. I know what types of conversations are going to make me a little bit nervous or anxious or depressed, so I can make myself aware of it as it's happening. I'm like, okay, I know how I'm about to react, and it keeps me much more in control. And also then you're able to adjust and, you know, like stay away from certain people at certain times or go to other people for other things and just change everything. It's super helpful to be able to learn those things. Keep notes in your phone. That's what I do. I have a notepad in my phone and it's a list of just triggers and a list of the things that seriously move my heart. And I find that to all be really helpful. So I know that a lot of this can be like pretty repetitive, but if you seriously take the advice and actually do something with it, because a lot of the times we know change our diet, we know, you know, drink more water, we know to go get exercise, but sometimes we know those things, but we're not actually doing it. And I mean doing it like really trying, like really trying. So if you just give all of this a genuine chance, I think that your mind can be stimulated and you can actually start moving forward and healing. Yeah, those are just 10 tips just to get yourself started with healing those things. If you guys have any recommendations, please leave them in the comment section below. That way other people can learn from you too. And I hope you like this video. Give it a thumbs up. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notifications because I put out videos whenever I feel like it. And if you haven't watched my last video, which was on the Super Bowl halftime show, you can click right here to go watch that. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.